When Genshin first released, there was one DPS who reigned supreme over everyone else. He wasn't an Archon, he didn't have college dissertations for ability descriptions, he was just a standard banner 5-star that hit things with fire. We are nearing the end of the standard banner 5-star series, and for the penultimate character, we are going to try and beat Genshin Impact using who was once considered the best DPS in the game, Diluc. So let's see if he still holds that title. Lamau, no, baby! But before we get into the rules and anime opening, I would just like to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Haikyuu Fly High. Haikyuu Fly High is a brand new RPG game based around the hit sports anime, Kurokuro's Basketball. That's a joke, it's actually Haikyuu, who would have thought? In Haikyuu Fly High, you can build and face off against iconic characters from the series, but unlike real life, these characters aren't bound by the chains known to us as schools. So you can mix and match these teams with various students from Karasuno, Nekoma, Aoba Josai High, and more. Additionally, you can basically recreate moments from the show with the characters' signature moves and make up your own unique team plays, with ultimate skills that have been faithfully remastered from the show. Fans of the anime and manga will appreciate the detail given to these animations, and the fact this game also comes with its own original voice acting, so they can fully remake your favorite moments from the series onto your device. And if you're not familiar with the show, but still want to learn about volleyball without going outside, you can learn about the sport through the gameplay system. You can serve, block, spike, and more with different skills and combos that you can unlock from duo player bonds with graphics that seamlessly swap between 3D and 2D animation. And when you're done with your volleyball matches, you can engage in a variety of extra activities around the school, like math class, reading, science. Who am I kidding? Nobody needs to learn unimportant things like that. You can build your own training camp, expedition training, trivia, and more as you surround yourself into the world of Haikyuu. And if you play today, you can earn up to 3 SSR units through the game's welcoming events. Kei Tsukishima from a 7-day login, Hinata from the Greatest Decoy event, and an SSR of your choosing after completing certain missions. You can enjoy these units and more in Haikyuu Fly High by clicking on the link in the description. Thanks again to Haikyuu Fly High for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the challenge. Here are the rules. We can only use Diluc. All claymores are allowed, including 5 stars. And lastly, we do not kill. Now let's see if we can beat Genshin Impact only using Diluc. We start our journey with everyone's favorite, monthly TV show. Guess which Archon I tried to get but lost 50-50 on, so it became a standard banner account. For this episode, the correct answer is...
the almighty Raiden Shogun!
I promise I did win 50-50 on at least one of the Archons. Flash forward like 2 years and a threat from Google that they were going to delete my account, we finally began to make progress on this run. Beginning our challenge was Amber's Domain, where the king of early game Genshin takes his place on the throne.
The king in the north!
We even went bowling here, but Diluc messed up his aim here, so sadly no strike for him. Kaya's Domain was next, and since we have the Favonius Greatsword equipped on our Diluc, that means we are experiencing the canon playthrough of Diluc Genshin Impact in this area. It's the exact same as the normal one, which means that either all of the enemies here respawned and Diluc had to go through them again, or it's the funnier option where Diluc was so eagerly trying to catch up to Kaya as fast as humanly possible that he ran through this entire domain just to take this kill away from him and talk him.
Knights of Favonius, always so inefficient.
Also, why can't we have these moves? These are so much cooler. Lastly, we had Lisa's Temple, where Kaya's extra half-inch proved to be too much for Diluc.
Pause, don't go there.
Because Kaya did this on the first try, but it took multiple for Diluc. I'm sorry, Short Kings. It seems like height does matter after all. Ending the domain, we broke the crystal, but I forgot to grab the chest, so that's 20 XP we'll never see again. Yep, pack it up, boys. Call the race. This run's over. Now we've got to grind for the next missions, so while we give Diluc here some prep time, we're gonna analyze his capabilities. Diluc is a well-prepared unit for this type of run, genuinely. The positives for this character is going to be a pretty brief section, but in the best way possible. So let's look at all these gadgets. Nearly everything about Diluc is great for this challenge. Man has fire. Man use fire for the world. I'm not going to keep talking like a caveman. He has a claymore, so his normal attacks do great damage and work against all abyss shields regardless of if they're pyro or not.
You wouldn't hit
Pyro Mage,
would you?
The hammer of justice is unisex.
His skill does solid damage and can be chained into his normal attacks for fast, consistent DPS, and it has a short cooldown. Plus, you don't have to have a high school degree to understand it. Diluc does Fire Slash. Thank you, old Hoyoverse. Me no like reading. They smart, me dumb. Then there's the burst. Diluc picks up his sword, grips it tight, and throws out a ginormous bird. See, he even says bird for his voice line.
Burn!
I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a phoenix, but it could also be a hawk too. This bird flies towards the enemies, dealing a lot of fire damage while also giving Diluc Pyro Infusion on his normal attacks. For this run, a genuinely great ultimate, made even better by the fact that it's only 40 cost, so we can just spam it. And it can even hit flying enemies. Even this character's Ascension is great for us because it gives crit rate. Does that mean our crit damage is great by default? No. But would you rather take $50 or $55? Yeah, that's what I thought. So I listed literally everything about Diluc gameplay-wise, and they were all positives. So what's bad about Diluc? Is there something in the way? Pyro is a great element to have, but it can lead to us taking a lot more damage than needed since grass is basically everywhere in this game. His burst is also really nice to have in this run, but if you don't kill an enemy, they are sent flying all the way to like a whole nother game, so you're gonna have to hurry to kill them. You don't want them to be stuck in League of Legends for too long. Diluc, I know you killed your dad, but that doesn't mean you can push everyone away from you. Now I saved the worst for last because there's one thing about this character that genuinely sucks. He says a bad word.
Damn you!
Not cool, Diluc. Don't say that again. It's not that. It's his charged attacks. What are you doing?
Calm down, who the f are you fighting?
These charge attacks might actually be the worst move in the entire game. They slow you to a crawl, they drain your stamina like a bitch, and it looks ugly. I hate these moves so much, and our first Ascension passive that we get makes it better. I'm still not using this. This might be the single most useless passive in the entire game, which is saying something because this is a game that gives a character a passive that reduces crit rate by 100. Who the f is trying to be relentless? I feel like everyone who's tried this charge attack had their experience go like this. What the f? I'm not using that again. Alright, this move is actually making me mad. Diluc, prep time is over. Let's start Act 2. Act 2 begins with the Eye of the Storm, and this battle ends with one of my favorite finishes. I don't know why, but the idea of Diluc winning these fights by swinging down his sword like a hammer will always make me happy. We then enter the bar, so we can officially start the canon playthrough of Mondstadt. Diluc is no longer an involved bystander, he is the hero. And this hero's name is the Dark Knight.
That's pretty good. But it's taken. Wait, I got it.
Dark Knight Hero.
Genius.
What are you looking for, a raise? Get out.
Canon Diluc starts his journey in the Fatui hideout, but this time we don't have the Wolf's Gravestone. I guess they figured there's no point in trying to sell you Diluc if you already have him, so they're not gonna give us the good shit.
Tight, yeah!
Agent Zamenhof proved to be the first villain who stood in our way, and even though he's committed numerous crimes, we still can't kill him. Batman does not kill, but he's perfectly fine with giving people severe concussions. Our next foe is Ruin Guard number 246, and bro got embarrassed. Diluc paid it no attention as he was just casually talking to his sidekick the whole time. The finale of Mondstadt made us bear witness to Venti's absolutely terrible Obama impersonation.
Let me be clear.
As we began our fight with Dvalin, we're playing Batman, Fetty's gonna rob him. Hey, I got a Glock in my Rari. 17 shots, no 30. Oh, that's so dumb. The Dvalin fight marks the end of our hero's first tale, and what a strong way to go out. Diluc nearly one-phased it here, but sadly he couldn't get the job done.
Because he's a puss.
Which puts him behind his brother, Kaya. But although Kaya won the battle, Diluc won the war for Mondstadt because he beat it in just under 5.5 hours, giving him the shorter run, and making him the second fastest standard banner character so far, just right behind his fellow 1.0 DPS Kaching. Oh, it's Catwoman. That joke is literally right there. Our hero has now set out to make a name for himself outside of Mondstadt, so let's see how well this turns out for him. Leeway begins similarly to how Mondstadt did, with Diluc going bowling.
Go, VP!
Now, Diluc did this section slower than most, but that was through no fault of his own. That was all me.
I take responsibility for racism.
Chris, you were supposed to apologize to Diluc, because for this, I only used the ult to hurt enemies. I stood behind this imaginary line and just did bird.
Burn!
We also did get a damage high of 1693, which is pretty insane for this point in the run. And if you're wondering how we got a character to hit a number like this that early, it's because he hit a butterfly, so this is definitely a padded number. But hey, I'm just counting the numbers that I see on the screen. Don't hate the guy who made the arbitrary rules, hate the game. Mountain Shaper was next, and it was here that I discovered that my chat was actually not lying to me in the No UI challenge, because you can't skip the initial cutscene at the top if you break the correct amber. So if you were part of that stream, I would just like to take responsibility for my actions and admit that, hey, it's not my fault that you guys are not trustworthy. I don't sound like Deku.
Rex Lapis. Assassinated?
At the rite of dissension?
Cloud Retainer was next, where our wingsuit carried us over to victory, but there was still something in the way. It was a Ruin Hunter. Why are you growling like that? Men be afraid to moan, but I be in my girl's ear like. With Act 1 concluded, it's time for us to get up to AR 25, and to do that, we get to play as Child Diluc. Lamau Bozo's weaker than us. My Diluc clears Hoyoverse. You saw it here first, folks. Don't ever let them forget this. Context does not matter. During our period of farming, we got another 5-star, but sadly not a character, so it looks like we're missing out on Conviction, which is one of my favorite constellation names. That's the only reason I included this bit. In order to ascend Diluc to 50, we have to defeat the Pyro Regisfine Flower, the first boss that I ever did for a character only, and here we are 3 years later. Much has changed since then, especially the fucking time it took to beat this. Diluc does a lot more damage than Amber here, but it still takes him a minute because of the Pyro resistance, and because once it does this move, we basically get put into timeout. Come on, I want to play! With our victory came 2 boss material drops, because remember, that's how these things work. Then we ascend our Diluc, who is now no longer the canon Diluc. We swapped out his Favonius Greatsword since we can't bring it higher than 40, and replaced it with the Debate Club. So now we are no longer Batman, just man. Man's journey begins with Leeway Act 2. First up, he had to do the completely normal task of turning on an oven, and he did it just fine. He's just a normal guy. Then we had the teapot, where Diluc already got a new damage high of 2.4k. Okay, Jesus Christ. Alright, he's back to being Batman. And you can tell he missed this role because the first thing he did was perform a stealth takedown by just hitting a random guy with a club off a 15-story building. But remember, it didn't kill him because we don't kill. Poor guy was just trying to put his kid through college, and now he's lost all of his teeth. Finishing Act 2 allows us to start Act 3, where Batman was not able to glide over to the special platform without using gadgets from his utility belt. We then fought crime with our trusty Batman, and thankfully made it in time to perform at our concert.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer. DUI, how about you die? I'll go 100 miles in an hour.
The next supervillain in our way was Child of the Fatui Harbingers, a foe so fearsome that we got past his first phase in 18 seconds. We are still in the early game, which means that Diluc is like a top 5 character at this point. Nobody else was doing damage like him.
He was a serial killer who bragged about killing people.
That, bruh, if he wanted you out of there, he'll go do it himself.
I was happy as hell when I found out Vaughn was dead. I cooked for the whole day.
Ending Leeway, we get to watch Batman fight off against God, but without any prep time. So how will he pull this one out of his ass? The answer is the power of friendship. Who could forget about Batman's long-term situational allies, Chow, Madame Ping, and Ganyu, which allowed him to 2-shot the criminals. Diluc finished Act 3 at 12.5 hours, which is still just only a couple minutes behind Kaching, so the 1.0s are clearly running this still. The unction! But which one of these two will prevail over the other? The cat or the bat? The J Chamber interlude provides the next obstacle in our journey, where a young lady tries to help us, but no.
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
After nearly killing myself from fall damage, I started to recognize just how well Diluc was doing in this run. This is probably the most simple character we've ever had in any of these challenges, since it's literally just sword go fire. But that's all we need. A big reason why he's having such a better time than Dia is just because he has more fire, and a burst that won't target campfires. On paper, these two should be having similar runs, but right now, one is definitely low diffing. With Osial out of commission, our next opponent was his girlfriend. It was here that I realized that even though we are fighting a being made entirely out of water, they don't have the Hydro status, meaning that we can't get any vapes. It's weird, but hey, if it means that it's not immune to Hydro, I think Diluc is willing to put down the vapes for at least one fight so Bona and Barbara can at least kill this thing in less than 20 minutes. We then return back to Mondstadt to meet the nation's next big brooder. This is the last quest before AR 30, meaning this is our final stop before Inazuma, which is the beginning of the slow downfall for Diluc. The enemies here ranged from more tiresome ones like Pyro Abyss Mages to our personal favorite enemy in this run, the Cryo Mage, a Pyro Vision plus a Greatsword. Go ahead and just drop the shield for us, little bro. Our last foe before heading out to sea is the Hydro Abyss Herald, an enemy that Diluc does extremely well against, but still not as good as his brother Kaya. Diluc may act like it's fine considering he's 3 hours ahead of Kaya's run, but I think everyone knows that deep down inside, this will forever haunt him. After defeating one last Pyro Abyss Mage in heaven, I guess, Inazuma turned on the Diluc signal and we began our journey across the sea. Now that our Diluc and Debate Club are both level 60, this means that the bell is starting to toll, and for whom does it toll for? None other than thee. Diluc's first assignment in the new nation is to escort some cargo. ago. But this brings back some painful memories for our hero. This is how my dad died, Raphael. The invaders proved to not cause much of an issue for Diluc here, seeing as he was able to completely break their guards with just one swing. So they were quickly flown into the prison where they belonged. Wait, Diluc, what are you doing? They're already in jail. Why are you still beating them up? Stop! Act 2 of Inazuma begins with a team building exercise. That's right, everybody. Right now in the comments, let's help get the engagement up on this video because I want you to comment what you think is better for medical treatments. Are you guys Oni Kabuto grinders or Wolfhook advocates? Please let us know down below. Smile. Thanks, guys. Next up for our hero is the archery demonstration, which there was no way in hell for him to do because 1, he doesn't have infinite bursts, and 2, this bird is big as shit. It basically covers the whole bench. How the hell would this even work? So I figured, why don't we let Chevris give this a shot?
Right there.
Pressure getting to you?
So I figured after we let Sara do all the work, why don't we let Chevris give this a shot? Forward, march. The Shogun really stole the last target from her. Why? It's okay, Chevrolet. We'll finish this for you. And by we, I mean Sara, because we can't do the next part since there's something in the way. The Electro Pillars are next, which is something that we can't cover, so it falls back to the old saying, if you can't do something, pay someone else to do it for you. Inside the Delusion Factory, shoutouts to our dad.
Still doing this, huh?
It's called a day of mourning, butthole, not 15 minutes.
Our Falcon leaves as we begin to hear the bell yet again. Our damage has yet to fully fall off, but it has taken a slight dip. We can still kill a Pyro Sniper before the shield, which is what's really important for us. But most of the other enemies here are starting to fight back. I mean, we're even hitting for double-digit numbers on some of these guys. Oh my god. We were hitting for triple-digit numbers all the way in the first mission. Something is seriously wrong here. And I mean, like, actually wrong. We even hit the Mirror Maiden for 666 damage. And Diluc's name starts with a D and has 5 letters. You know who else's name starts with a D and has 5 letters?
My mom! Get out!
The devil. Could Diluc actually be the devil? Our next opponent is Senora, and surely he wouldn't hit a woman, right?
Funny. I don't have that problem.
Maybe he is actually the devil. Senora is where a light really shined onto Diluc, but not in the best way.
Middle schoolers!
Once we started the pyro phase, this really put to attention how much our pyro vision was actually doing for us, because now that she has resistance to it, we don't really do shit for damage. What once hit for 450 is now hitting for 150. And the heat's not really helping us either, but Diluc was able to overcome this villain by just staying on top of her and not letting her breathe. Lastly, Inazuma, we have to fight another god, but unlike last time, we prepared beforehand for this.
Batman with prep time is beating
Raiden Shogun
in a 1v1.
None can contend with the supreme power of the almighty Raiden Shogun and the Muso no Hitotachi.
For this occasion, our buffs actually just barely allowed us to get a damage height of 2.6k. He was just able to scrape out that number from this encounter. We didn't perform all that well here since our damage wasn't as great as I was expecting it to be, and because she would also dodge our moves a lot. That's like the only excuse I can think of, because how the hell did this bird not hit her here? What? This thing takes up like half the fucking arena. We finished Inazuma in less than 20 hours, which means that Diluc is slowly coming up on Kaching and overtaking her position as the top dog. Well, more like cat. He's already surpassed a god, so by that standard, the totem pole looks like this now. The Brooding Brothers reunite to take on the Chasm, and the first group of enemies are the Serpent Knights. We've got the Dark Knight versus the Black Knight. Wait.
Is that blackface, dude?
No. This isn't blackface. I'm an actual demon.
Get the out, man!
This quest is mainly going to be a race against Kaya.
I'm coming, mommy!
Kaya had the shorter time compared to Diluc against the Hydro Herald because Cryo is always far more effective. Diluc even tried to cheese it here with the Burning Grass technique. It's a little hard to pull off since Hydro enemies have attacks that remove Burning Grass, but basically, you burn the ground near a Hydro shield, and if the enemy stays on top of it, they take constant fire damage from the burns. It's a really easy way to destroy those shields quickly. The next Abyss enemy was the Electrolector, and this battle actually went to Diluc. The Overload damage made much better progress than Superconduct, which brings the score up to 1-1. And the tiebreaker for this quest is the Abyss Mage Gauntlet, which was ultimately won by Kaya. It was a close race, but Kaya ultimately won out because he only had 2 Cryo Mages to deal with, while Diluc had to defeat 3 Pyro ones. I guess you could say Diluc had more in the way. I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm not sorry. Looks like little siblings are better than big siblings when it comes to dealing with Inazuma Act 4. Make sure to rub that in your older brother/sister's face. I'm sure they'll have no idea what you're talking about. Getting ready for Sumeru, we started doing our talent domains, and thank God I finally have a character who can do their talents easily. Most of the time, it's either nigh impossible or it takes at least like 2 minutes to do, but this was a breeze. Diluc truly owns Mondstadt. As we hit AR35, we completed the Ascension domain and brought our hero up to level 70, giving him a new passive. This is a passive that is good for the most part. Having a longer pyro infusion plus the extra damage is definitely beneficial in most cases, but if we're ever fighting an enemy that has pyro resistance or is just flat out immune and they so happen to be in in the crowd, then this can be a little inconvenient.
They are living among us.
Sumeru Act 1. 3.0 was when the bells were starting to get loud for Diluc, but in the MistahFeet run, I'm guessing he's deaf because he truly did not care about those bells. He's still doing fine. Low-key, he's actually doing better than he did in Inazuma. We got a new damage high of 3.8k, which does not happen often with characters in these runs. Is Diluc coming back into fashion? Honestly, no, because Moika's in the game. But can she do this? We bonked an enemy so hard that they went flying and disintegrated into a pot. Yeah, I have no idea how this happened either. Sumeru Act 4. All right, we're going straight to Arkham Asylum, and for what reason? To beat up more inmates, of course. Look at this biggie churl. Bro thinks he can break our back? Nah. Flawless victory. We did the dumpster strategy on him. But the next part of the asylum was the real pain in the ass. We have to deactivate the security systems, and in order to do that, we have to turn on the Dendro pillars using Dendrogana. And to even do that, we have to use our charge attacks. Yes, for the first time in this run, we got to use these god-awful charge attacks. Look how slow these things are, dear God. The last thing I'm going to mention in Act 4 is a little weird, but I want you guys to hear me out. Not like that! Okay, so I don't know why this is, but for some reason, whenever I burn the Geo Mushroom, specifically, the new design they get freaks me out. Like, I genuinely don't know why. It gives me the goose pimples, and it makes me extremely uncomfortable for some reason, and I need to know, am I the only one who feels this way? This is not engagement farming like last time. These things actually gross me out. Alright, let's move on for my sake. Our next major piece of combat comes from Act 5, where we have to fight Fatui agents. This part actually pissed me off, because Diluc's pyro application is so good that we made all of the grass surrounding us burn. But this is a bad thing, because once the electro agent turns on his shield, he becomes a walking bomb. We've been doing this combo string the entire game, but now I know what it's like to be a hilly churl. Look at this. Do you see how much range this has? And it's literally my fault. Next is the Scara factory, where our Diluc is starting to have very close encounters with death. Have you ever fought an electro hammer with your Genshin challenge on the line? No. It had been months since I last recorded a run where I had to do this normally, so using Diluc here against most enemies was not as bad of an experience as I thought it was going to be. We still had to fight plenty of electro hammers, but just like most of you guys, there's not any grass surrounding them, so we didn't have to worry about the bombs. The domain even ended in my favorite way with the head bonk. God, that felt good! Next is Scara himself, and surprisingly, Diluc was not able to hit these turrets. I was really expecting the second half of our skill to hit them, but this upward swing just doesn't go upward enough. Tornado uppercut, this move is not.
Tornado uppercut!
Well, I knew we had to get our back broken at some point in this challenge.
Oh my God, no!
Lastly, for Act 5, we had the Polluted Islands. The first enemies here were Rift Wolves, but since I'm so good with animals, ladies, that's another thing to add to the list, I would rather jump off a building than have to fight them. And since wolves can recognize alphas,
I am now the alpha.
They followed me. Unfortunately for us, our hero had his first death at the hands of this villainous biggie churl. He beat us down and threw a bomb at us, knocking us unconscious. The game told us to retreat, but we can't let an injustice like this happen again.
Real justice.
No surrender! I am done humoring you! 100% justice! For justice!
I wish I could have ended this section with that, but unfortunately, I am contractually obligated to state that for Act 6, our fire character was indeed able to make a fire. With AR-40 brings a new nation for the Dark Knight hero. His first obstacle is building jumping, and he was so close to getting all three in one go. So close, but he just missed it.
We're on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
As for the combat, let's take a look at the 4.0 tier list. At this point, Diluc has dropped a tier, and the bells ringing is starting to grow louder. But this time, it's for good reason. Our damage has seen a dip with the increase in enemy health. We do still have some upsides, that being our claymore attacks can stagger enemies, but we are starting to feel the pain of late game Diluc. In general, this nation has marked a turning point for the run because there's something in the way. But I'm not memeing this time. I'm blocked in. I'm actually stuck here. Diluc's damage is dipping, but it's still solid because right now he is the fastest character in all of these runs. He's a front runner, and sometimes that's all you need to win a race. Ending Fontaine, we have to go back into Sumeru to fight Abyss Mages, but little do they know they're up against the world's greatest detective. Who else would think to fight fire with water? Our final enemy for this quest is none other than Mr. Freeze. But instead of doing this to beat him, We're just gonna use fire. Is Batman stupid or something? Freeze is literally in his name. The last arc in our comic as of now is the Natlan War arc. What does this experience hold for our Diluc? Will the bell's toll finally consume him, or will his vengeance pierce the darkness? God, I did not enjoy writing that line. Act 1 has his fight off against animals, and now, ladies, I know that we established that I'm good with animals, and just keep that in mind, but we are gonna have to make an exception for these guys. Stand back, kittens. Just turned on my swag, and things are about to get crazy. Unironically, though, things did get a little crazy because we got a new damage high of 7k damage. Holy shit. That vaporized plunge attack at 3 a.m. be hitting different. Even with an impressive new damage high, our consistent DPS isn't all too great. It's definitely serviceable, but long gone are the days where we could 3-shot enemies or 1-combo them. We're having to get our hands dirty and work for these kills, damn it. In the past, this cavern usually makes us take damage because this game fucking sucks. But now I've grown past the hardships and bullshit deaths and discovered that the secret to beating this part is just running around and using the burst so the ghost can't hit us. Adapt. Overcome. There's one last thing for us to do in that land, which means that for one final time, there's something in the way. The war here is filled with both abyssal pylons and mimics, both of which are protected by shields that require elemental damage or Natlan needs characters to break. But sadly, we don't have one of those traits. Even if we don't have elemental damage, Diluc does extremely well against these shields. If these enemies are fought on grass, Diluc can basically one-turn them because of the burn. You just have to be careful to not be next to electro enemies when they happen. But what makes Diluc's experience here different than Dia's? Diluc had a much better time for a couple of reasons. 1, his skill is on a much shorter cooldown and it has more uses. 2, his burst requires much less energy recharge, so he can use it more often. And since we have the pyro infusion afterwards, that also makes it to where we can keep doing damage. Clearly someone is not blessed by the Phoenix. Now go back to your tent. I heard there's a campfire that needs to be lit. Batman could have basically done all of this on his own, but he was able to learn the true value of teamwork through his iconic ally.
That's me! That must be me!
Yumkasaurus. And the Justice League, who also cornered this one mimic and jumped his fucking ass. Bro was not able to leave with 3 people punching him and an invisible wall behind him. And after mourning the death of 1,931 brave warriors, none of which including our dad, Batman saved yet another city and we could return back home. And after 45 hours, 9 minutes, and 14 seconds, we beat Genshin Impact only using Diluc, making this the fastest time out of any character. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new champion. He has surpassed both the gods and Catgirls and now stands in a league of his own. But let's go back to the Batcave and give this run a proper analysis. Damage. I'm gonna go with a 5. There was a dip towards the end, but he was still putting up decent numbers. Early on, this character had no issues with any enemies. He was just one-comboing what felt like everyone up until Inazuma. Diluc's fall-off in this run was still greater than most characters' peaks, so I think he more than earns a 5 here. Exploration, 4. He's tall, has a claymore to mine faster, pyro vision for puzzles, and chess, the perfect example of a 4. Sustain, we'll go with a 1. This character has no healing by himself, and he only makes things worse for him with burns, so he literally cannot go any higher for this. Bosses, I think I'm gonna go with a 4. Diluc did genuinely great against most of the bosses in this run. He dealt solid damage to almost all of them, but what stops him from getting the perfect score would be his damage without his pyro attacks. Some of these bosses have resistance, and Diluc can definitely feel that, so when it's just our debate club, it's not the best. Lastly is ability/utility, and I think I'm gonna go with another 4. Diluc's skills are near perfect for a DPS in a solo run. A skill that procs the element multiple times and has a short cooldown, a burst that infuses your weapon, does a lot of damage, and has a low energy cost is perfect. If I were to craft the ideal character for a solo run, at least one of Diluc's abilities has a chance of being used. The main thing holding this character back from a 5 though is his dog shit useless passive and the lack of sustain caused by the pyro. Overall, Diluc gets an 18 out of 25, giving him a B+, ending with an unbuffed damage high of 7k and a buff damage high of 2.6k. Diluc may not have had the best score out of all the characters, but now he has the fastest time out of everybody. From 1.0 to version 5.7, Diluc remains at the top for solo runs. But when it comes to standard banner characters, it seems like he still has one last challenger coming for the throne. Which means that he still has something in the way.